All right, so now let's look at going into a Rimi Ashigami when we're on offense, ways that we can go in and start passing our partner from this Rimi Ashigami position. One way that we can threaten our partner from here is by going into a tapo shiro position or going into a relatively belly down position where my partner is threatened with the use of my heel hooks from here. Okay, so we can always extract their leg and come up. We can start body locking our partner like we did before. That's a given because we have the inside position. But one thing that we can do is we can start moving up into this tapo shiro position like so. Where now from here we can start going in and start threatening our partner with heel hooks like so. Many times from here, as my partner goes to come forward and fight the hands, whatever the case is, many times from here, instead of just extracting our leg and then trying to come forward and cover all this distance and get to a body lock or a tight waist or what have you, we can start moving into a situation where we put real pressure on our partner from here. And now from here, as our partner goes to come forward, we can take this hand and we can sneak it through into this position. As we snake the hand through into this position, we can start heisting and pulling our leg back. Now we can open up the knee. Once our knee is open, it's a pretty easy thing now to go forward, lock our hands, and drive our partner's leg down to the floor. On the opposite side, now we have the choice of staying with the body lock, or we can switch to underhook, double unders, crossface underhook, head block, and we can go into all of our previous attacking options from here, okay? So instead of just extracting the leg, one good option is we're attacking a partner. We can always just tuck the leg in, move to butterfly ashi like we talked about, and then come forward, but we have to cover a lot of distance. So a lot of times that cross shoulder post or any kind of post to my shoulder will make it difficult for me to come forward. So we can bridge the gap here by really putting a lot of heat on our partner and coming through and trying to attack her. A lot of times from here, people try to come forward, they try to pressure into me, whatever the case is, they're trying to use all the defenses. We just tuck our elbow to our hip. The second we tuck our elbow to our hip from here, we come through and we put an underhook in place. Now all that's left to do is to take our left foot and just extract it. Now we have a couple of choices. We can open. If my partner tries to move back and away and move her head away from me to re-guard, we can go in and we can lock the hands like so. And now we can drive our right knee down and pass with body locks and splitting our partner's leg. If our partner continues to come forward for any amount of time, we punch the underhook in, and now our knee gets caught on our partner. And I can't open it. Whenever I see this, we just plant our knee down, we open our left leg, and we step. Now, right from here, my whole thing is I want to put my partner's shoulder, her left shoulder, down on the floor. She can't block me with the cross face because of the fact that her elbow is posted. If at any point her elbow comes off the floor and she goes to block the cross face, I just put my head on the floor and I use a head block cross face to just slide on through and start passing into side control. If from here she keeps height and she builds height and she stays in the elbow, now I just take my head and I just place my chin over the far trap, like so. And I just take everything down across the body. I punch a cross face in. If she traps my ankle, it means nothing. We just go in, we separate our partner's legs, we bring our ankle through, and we start our passing game. Okay, so we can use more creative ways to start passing our partner in this position. From here, we can come in, we can move to this kind of a shiro position. We're not completely on top of our partner from here, but we're not completely grounded either. From here, we start digging for our partner's heel, and we create a real threat on my partner's leg. As she goes to come forward, we just tuck our elbow to our hip. And from here, we slice our hand through. Now, as I go to extract my foot, the main thing is I have to take my left foot out. I can't do anything from here. So right from here, we just tuck our foot in. We just lift our knee up towards the ceiling, and we tuck it behind us. Now we play a basic dilemma game. If my partner tries to move away from me and put a wedge between us, we just go in and we lock our hands, we open up the knee. And this will always allow us to drive our knee down towards the floor on the opposite side and double split our partner's legs with a body lock or other upper body configurations with the grips. If my partner continues to come towards me and I can't open my knee up, like so, now from here, we take our chin, we just cover our partner's far shoulder. As we do so, this leg comes out for base, and I drive the far shoulder right down towards the floor as we place our cross face in. If I try to cross face and she goes to block it, then we just go right into a head block, and we go in, and we make our pass. Okay? That's one good option. Another great option is from here, we use an Achilles, we build to a full Tapo Shiro. But from here, we come in, we tuck our foot inside, and we physically sit down in our partner like so. Once we sit down in our partner like so, we have the option now of going in, and if my partner tries to come forward and take my back, whatever the case is, she's scooting out and away, comes up to an elbow. Now from here, we have the choice of punching that underhook in, same as we did before. We have the choice of reaching around, locking kimuras, and then going through and falling into T-kimura positions like so, and doing all of our favorite passes from there. So we can move into a full Tapo Shiro, where we can physically sit on top of our partner's leg, on top of our partner's body rather, like so, and we can go into many different passing variations from here. We can open our knee up like so, we can get chest to chest, and now from here, we can go through and we can lock up chest to chest passing positions. And so we can bridge the gap now between attacking my partner from Arimi Ashi, moving into Tapo Shiro positions, going into passes, and then using leg locks into guard passes, getting chest to chest, getting to body locks, and working from there. Right, so now we're going to look at passing off of our defensive roll. Now let's look at passing off of our partner's defensive roll. And so she can go into a half roll where she she stays belly down and tries to bring her knee free, or she can go into a full roll where there's more disconnection, and we use an opportunistic body lock or tight waist to come forward and start passing our partner. So let's look at both of those. From here, she goes into a half roll where I start exposing the heel, and I feel her knee come free. Right from here, we go in, we lock a full figure of four, and we just catch our partner like so. So we have friction running from my partner's shoelaces all the way up to her knee, and we have a strong connection to our body. So when she goes to pull herself out and away, it's going to be difficult from here. Now I just put my knee down on the floor like so, and now we just take our two knees and we touch them together the best we can. When she goes to pull everything out and away, it's going to be difficult from here. Now, my whole thing is to get to the hips. So right from here, we just pendulum, and we get to our partner's hip. Now, we use the hip like a handle. If she goes to pull me away now, the only thing she does is pull me towards her. This will give me time. I post my foot on the floor, and I just extend my leg out and away. So now I can put her leg down, and I can pull myself up, and we can make a 2-on-1 here on our partner's leg, where I have the lower leg controlled through that shin pin, and I have the upper leg controlled through the wedge between my partner's knee. Now, right from here, she has three options. Number one, she can stay here, now I'm attacking her back and attacking turtle, or she can try to re-guard. If from here, she tries to re-guard, and she tries to turn away from me, and her back turned towards me, from here, we just go in, and we lock our hands like so. We have a strong body lock on our partner, and now we see what our partner does. If we see our partner falls down to her back, and she accepts bottom position, or from here she tries to push in my shoulders, whatever the case is, I just come forward, and I crowd my partner, and I bring my head right over my partner's head. When she goes to push me away, it's going to be difficult from here. So if I see, maybe I'm in this position, she goes to turn away from me, try to re-guard. If from here, I see her put her shoulders on the floor, the second I see her shoulders come on the floor, I know that she's trying to shoulder post and scoot her hips out and away. This is no good. So the second I see she goes to fall, and the shoulders come down, immediately I crowd my partner's head, I take my head to my partner's far shoulder, and move into this body locking leg drag position, where from here, we can come forward, we can go underhook, cross face, and the double underhooks, we can go head block, cross face, we can do all kinds of things, and start our passing game from there. If, on the other hand, she chooses to fall, and she puts an overback drift in, she stays up on her elbow. Now, it's my responsibility to put her shoulder down the floor. So we can do this in one of two ways. We can switch to a claw grip, and then we can rotate that partner down, Or now from here, once she's on the shoulder, when she goes to use that over back effectively, I just take my ear and I just rotate it up towards my partner's head, and now she's flattened out in kagatame territory. If I feel the claw isn't working for whatever reason, or I just want to try something else, we just go hand. We pull the hand in towards us, we get to the wrist, and now from here, we just put the shoulder down on the floor, and then again, we rotate our ear up towards our partner's head, and we wipe that hand on by, and now we can switch to that claw secondarily, switch to kagatame, or if she opens up the arm to avoid kagatame, now we have our underhook, our top headed arm, and we start our pinning game from there, okay? So great options either way. If she stays up on an elbow, right from here, this is more of a scrimmage wrestling type scenario where ADCC, she doesn't want to get pinned, whatever the case is. We either go claws or we go far wrist. If she wants to just play more of a classical jiu-jitsu game and she goes to recover and push me away, then from here, we just grab the far shoulder, we come forward, we make it difficult, then we climb to that upper body cranial shift as we go, okay? So that's if my partner turns away from me and tries to regard. I mean, many times from here, as we go to pass, she goes to turn towards me to regard. The second I see this, we just take, our hands, we lock them, and we put our elbow here inside of our partner's knee and hip. So when she goes to regard and bring her open up her legs from here, it's going to be difficult. Now, right from here, I don't go to the same claw grip, because now she can open up her knees. I'm not in a leg drag position anymore. Her legs are between my legs. So in here, the emphasis is on keeping my elbow inside my partner's knee and hip. So when she goes to move from here, she can't open those legs up. Now my whole thing is, she tries to stay on an elbow, it's fine, doesn't matter. I just step over my partner's knee. If I go to step over my partner's knee, and she posts on my knee, the other hand, then from here, that's fine. And she just gives me a situation where I can put my head higher than hers, and now I can move into a cross face. Now she has to push my knee down, I just put the cross face in, and from here, I just pummel my knee until I get to the inside position, and then step over her leg. So from here, she pretty much is forced to stay up on her elbow. She wants her head higher than mine. From here, we put the elbow inside, then we just step over my partner's knee. Once I step over my partner's knee, I just walk it back towards me. Once I'm over the knee, now it's a pretty easy thing to switch to that far wrist, to switch to that claw grip. And once I have that claw grip, we can easily sit our partner's head on down. We can take our head out, and then we can start passing from here. Best case scenario, she recovers to a 3/4 mount, and then we start passing from there. Worst case scenario for her, then she ends up mounted. I can also, once I step over, I can go to that far wrist. I can get to the far wrist. I can use a combination of far wrist, claw. We can sit our partner down to her back, and we can start passing either to the back or the guard passes as we love to do so much. So if I see my partner off of that initial entry, goes to face me, the second I see she goes to face me, my head ends up on the outside, no problem. Right from here, immediately I want to get up and over my partner's knee. If I see she goes to come down to her shoulder, and she has to stop me from stepping over the knee, go ahead, stop me. We can always get over that knee. Whether we go around, like so, or we open, and we retract, and then we go through, and go over, we can always get over that knee. So from here, now once I'm over the knee, if she goes to recover, it's going to be very hard because my head can easily pop out, and we can start passing from here. So she's pretty much doomed to staying up on her elbow. When she does so, it gives me the far wrist, it gives me the claws, so she can't stop the cross face from here. So the main thing, if she faces me, is getting up and over that knee. If my head ends up on the inside, this is even better, because now, as she goes to do anything, I can get over the knee and I can put her shoulder on the floor by just pressuring over that far shoulder with my head and stepping over the knee at the same time, okay? So all of those start from this scenario where I try to heel hook my partner from this Arimi Ashigarami situation. She goes to roll out. As her knee comes out, we just go in and we hold like so. As she goes to pull herself out and away, we figure four the legs, and initially, we just thrust our hips up and we splay the knees so that she carries my body weight. So when she goes to pull herself away, I have a good connection. Then I shrimp and I put my knee on the floor. Now from here, I use a pendulum and I come up. I post my foot and move out and away. From here, she has two choices. She turns away, she ends up in a leg drag. So most people are going to turn towards you. As she goes to turn towards you, she sits, either your head ends up on the outside, or if you're smart, as she goes to sit, you put your head on the inside. If your head's on the inside, it's even easier from here. We can always scoot forward, bring the knee up, get to the wrist, get to the claw, flatten my partner out however we want, and it's pretty easy to work from there. Okay, so we use the threat of the heel hook to force our partner to turn and turtle. We use the threat of the back take, which we'll look at later, combining all three, to get our partner to try to re-guard. She has two choices of trying to re-guard. She can turn towards me or she can turn away from me. And whether she turns towards me or away from me, we have great options. And the third part to this is from here, if we go to roll through and she rolls all the way through, this is less likely to happen and less realistic against a good person. But the opportunity is there sometimes, even against high-level people, and you can take advantage of it. If she goes to roll through, we roll all the way through, the leg comes out, she goes to hit a counterattack, and I just dive forward, and we get to that tight waist, we get to that body lock, and we use an opportunistic shot into our partner's hips, where as she gets out, we're both seated, she doesn't want to have, she wants maybe to get on top, to get the top position, she's trying to hike, she's trying to stand up, she's trying to come forward towards me, and as we both break contact, we end here. As we break contact, she goes to get up and reach for me. Maybe she goes to collar tie, whatever the case is. And from here, I can get to the body. I can lock everything up, and I can start my passes from there. Okay? So starting off with the initial attack, she goes to roll through and either ends up belly down, or we can start attacking her back, or she tries to re-guard by facing away from me. She tries to re-guard by facing towards me, or we roll into a full roll all the way through, and then from there we use an opportunistic shot to the body. But the second we break contact, instead of just coming back and restarting neutral, the second she goes to come towards me, I have immediate level change, intensity change, and I come forward and we get to the body and we start going into our passes. All right, so now we're in the Rinmiyashi Garami in offense. And from here, we're going in, we're trying to go in and start attacking our partner's legs. Whatever the reason, whether I pass or whether she passes it, from here, she wants to be safe from the outside heel hook and she passes it across or I pass it across. Whether she does it on the transition or I lean back and I pass it across into this position here. From here, we come in, we initially take an Achilles grip. Why do we take an Achilles grip? Because if we don't take an Achilles grip and we just go right to the knee right away, we go to heist and we lose my partner's leg. If I go to heist up, I start moving into leg drag positions and she strips this grip, it's going to be hard for me to go back into a leg entrance if I fail on the guard pass. And I do have to cover a lot of distance here, okay? So I initially keep an Achilles grip. So that now, as I go to heist from here, even if I feel like my partner puts up defensive frames and I can't come forward and I can't get to a situation where I'm chest to chest, I can't beat this knee, I can always, the bare minimum, fall back, and now we can start feeding it to cross ashi, we can feed it to 50-50, and we can go back into attacking our partner's legs, should we choose. If I just go to the knee right away, and I'm going to come forward, and she strips it, and she inverts the knee, now it's going to be harder for me to go back into a secondary attack on my partner's legs, and we're going to be back in neutral position. So I take an initial Achilles grip like so. Now, right from here, I build from an elbow, from a shoulder, to an elbow, to a hand, and now I start coming up into this situation here. Only now, when I get the knee pointing away from me, do I switch to the knee. If the knee is pointing towards me still, it's going to be difficult for me to start coming forward and getting in towards my partner. So as I'm going to come forward from here, I can use my hand to assist, and we push the knee on through, and then we switch to a grip here on the knee. Now, right from here, my whole thing is I want to keep her knees pointing away from me. She wants to take a post to my shoulder like so, usually with a cross-shoulder post. So from here, one of my favorite things to do is I switch from the knee to the collar. So when she goes to pull away, she can't do it. Now I switch to the knee with my left hand. When she goes to start inverting the knee now and using that cross shoulder to pull to move her head out and away and start shrimping, doing all the things people like to do, it's going to be difficult now. And I can pull myself in like so with that collar tie. And now we know what to do from here. We can either collapse that cross shoulder like so and come forward. We can take an inside bicep tie and we can start coming forward. Normally, if you see your partner's elbow is further forward, further forward than her shoulder line, that's usually a good situation to start punching the elbow across, clearing the cross shoulder post, and then coming in and start flattening my partner out like so. If you see the elbow is further retracted and further back than the shoulder line, then we usually go inside bicep tie. So now when she goes to come forward towards me, we can lean into that inside bicep tie. We can punch an underhook in, and we can make that cranial shift that we love so much. Okay? So when I see for an Arimi-ashi, from here, we can pass it off into a situation like so. From here, we start initially with an Achilles grip. So as we go to build, if we lose my partner's leg, for whatever reason, I feel like I'm not going to be able to come forward, or whatever the case is, I can pull myself back in, and I can start transferring the cross-ashi, 50-50, things like that. Now from here, as we go to build to the hand, we just go into a heisting scenario like so. Now, as I go to come forward, we go here. We can go either here, like so, if my partner's pushing into me, depends on what's happening. We can either go here and pull, or we can use the Achilles, move in like so, and then go right to the collar. Depends on what your partner's doing. Sometimes you're trying to move away from you. And as they're trying to move away, we can pull ourselves in like so. Sometimes they're pushing back into me, and then I have to post the hand, and I go to the knee first. Okay, so regardless of what your partner's doing, we want to get to that knee, so we want to get that knee pointing away from us and flanked on the outside of our rib cage. Now from here, we go in. She's going to have some kind of post in my upper body. We go to the knee, we go to the collar. The number one thing she needs is to move her head away from me to re-guard. She can't move her head away, it's going to be difficult. So as she goes to move that head away, I have a cranial shift. Not a very robust control of my partner's head, but I do have a cranial shift to have control over the head. So when she goes to pull herself away from me, it's going to be difficult. And now from here, we can guide those knees on across. We can put our knee down to the floor. When she goes to shrimp from here, because her head can't move, it's difficult. If I lose control of the head, now she shrimps away, and it becomes much easier for her to start moving out and away from me. But when I pull myself in, and the head can't move, and she can't open up the knees, when she goes to shrimp now, because the head's controlled, it's going to be much more difficult. Now you have your options of bringing this through. You have your options going inside bicep tie. And we can control the head with one hand. If she strips with one hand, we can go through and we control the other hand. And we just pull everything in until eventually we climb up the body. We get to that top head and arm, kagatame, darce, whatever we want from there. And then we get our pass going off of the initial leg drag.